this turning off my white balance? Oh. 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 Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Molly, and today I'm going to be doing my January wrap-up. This month I read 6 books, so that is 2 better than my average for every month. Sorry if I sound different. I probably don't, just in my head. And sorry if I'm sniffing a lot. I'm just getting over a cold, and like I was so congested during this cold, guys. Like I was fearing for my life while I was trying to go to sleep one night. Hey, please don't mind my hair. I was gonna wear it down, but it has a mind of its own today, so I'm not gonna wear it down. So let's just get on with the 6 books I read. The first book I read this month, and my first book of the year, is Carve the Mark by Veronica Roth. Let me tell you, this book, I already raved about it in my TMI tag. This book was so good. I just am amazed by how good it was, because like Divergent was good, but Insurgent and Allegiant were bad. Like they just got worse. And so I have not that high of hopes, but I really want to have high hopes for the next book, because on Goodreads it was slightly higher an average star rating than Carve the Mark, so I'm hoping so hard that it is better or as good instead of her other books that got worse. But this book follows 2 main characters. We have Akos and Syra, and they are both on the same planet, but they never met because they're from different nations. And in this world, this is a sci-fi, so in this galaxy, everyone has a current gift, and the current is sort of like their god, but it depends on like where you're from, like what planet you're on, depending on how you worship or like view the current. So you'll just have to read it to really understand. But the current stream is like what gives life, and I don't really know exactly, but at a certain age, I think it's around like puberty, everyone gets a current gift. So that could be anything, honestly. Like, I really appreciate how she didn't make all of the powers like, I can wield fire, ooh, I can move objects with my mind, like, you know, like easy to think of ones. Like, she has some really interesting ones, and they're like very unique to you. And so, but one of the powers is oracles, so, or a seer, I don't remember exactly what they're called, but same thing. And there's one for every planet, and so Akos' mom is one, and seers can see the future, obviously, and there are certain families that are fate favored, and fate favored families basically means that like when you're born, all the oracles see this one vision for you, and no matter what future they see, because there's plenty of different futures depending on which path people take, but no matter what future, that your fate is your fate. Like, that's going to happen no matter what happens in the future. So Akos and Syra are both part of fate favored families, and their fates kind of align, and it was super action packed and super amazing. I know there's a lot of controversy about how the fact that like the whole like evil nation is all people of color, but let me just say it makes sense for their people, the people who are like the bad guys, but the main bad guy is white, so, and all the main characters are white. Not Syra, I don't know, but like the bad people are travelers, so obviously they're going to have been with other people, so like that doesn't make sense why everyone's mad about it, but it's whatever. This was amazing, and I don't think that the racism thing was a huge issue in it, personally. I gave Carve the Mark a 5 out of 5 on Goodreads. I loved it so much. The next 3 books I read are part of a trilogy. I've been meaning to finish this trilogy for almost a year now, I think it's a year in March, but that is the Half Bad trilogy by Sally Green. I reread Half Bad, reread Half Lost, and then finally read Half Wild, and guys, I tried to stop it with my constant chanting every time this character was in here about how much I loved them. It didn't save them. It did not save them. So, this book had me in tears at work. Yeah. I made the dumb idea. Please do not follow by my example. Learn from my mistakes. If you are ever contemplating staying up sort of way too late to finish a book, or because you have to get up early, or you're like already late for bedtime and you're like, okay, I'm like 50 pages, maybe a little more than 50 pages. Where was I? I don't even remember. But like, you know, like you're kind of a ways away, but like if you stayed up late enough, you could finish it. Finish it. Don't be like, I'll just finish it tomorrow while I'm out in public, you know, like I'll be at school, waiting in class, reading my book, or I'll be at work during my lunch break, reading my book. Don't do it. Because that book will make you cry, and you will be embarrassed, and you will be like shielding your face like this because you're crying and you don't like to cry in public. And you feel stupid for crying over books because like no one else gets it except for your booktube friends and your best friend. It was a beautiful ending, but I'm real mad about it, and I'm not okay, and I gave Half Bad a 4 out of 5, I gave Half Wild a 4 out of 5, and I gave Half Lost a 5 out of 5. I was contemplating because like it was good, because I love this trilogy, but I will admit I don't necessarily think that is a 5-star all-around trilogy. It has some slow parts, but I love all the characters. There's just one scene in here that just didn't need to happen. Like, I could have lived without it. Oh my gosh, I didn't even explain what these are about. So, Half Bad is about a boy, Nathan, who lives in this world of witches. It's sort of like urban fantasy because witches, and they're in London, and witches coincide with us. So there are the good witches and the bad witches, which is very racist to say. I do not know why she chose these names for the good and the bad witches, but there are the black witches and the white witches. I'm betting you can guess which is which. So aside from that, and let me say, it's not because all the bad witches are black and all the good witches are white. It's not that. Anyway, our main character, Nathan, is a half-code. He is half black, half white, and his dad is the most evil black witch that in existence. And so the Council of White Witches is like testing him every year to see what he will be, if he'll be white or black, when he turns 17. When you turn 17, you get your 3 gifts, and you have the ceremony where you become a full-fledged witch and you get your gift. So he's been kept in a cage, which is where the story basically takes off fully. It's really cool. I'm really bad at explaining this. He finally escapes the cage, and now he's looking for someone to give him. Now he's 16, almost 17, looking for someone to give him his 3 gifts so that he can become a full-fledged witch. And he's also looking, I did a really bad job of explaining this trilogy, so like, just sue me. The next book I read is another reread. It is The Absolute True Diver, Part-Time Indian by Sherman Alexie. That's a mouthful. So this story I gave a 5 out of 5. I originally gave it a 4 out of 5, but I've also counted it as one of my favorite books of all time. So I'm not really sure why I gave it a 4 out of 5 in the first place. I gave it a 5 out of 5 now. So this story follows this boy, Arnold Spirit, who is Sherman Alexie. for the most part. This is his life, which is why it's called The Absolute True Diary of a Part-Time Indian, even though it's not absolutely true, because I watched an interview about it, because I was very, both times I've read it, I always pictured it as Sherman Alexie, and I was like, why is his name changed? But then I watched Rocky do a book talk about it, or not a book talk, but like in her wrap-up or whatever, and she said there was like a story following Arnold, and then I was like, wait, is it fiction or is it true? So then I was like scouring the internet, not really, not that long, for something about The Absolute True Diary of a Part-Time Indian, and there was an interview about it, and yes, it is mostly true. It's fictionalized a little bit, like he has more siblings than just the one sister, but for the most part everything's true. Like, he was born with water on the brain, which is just a lot of spinal fluid in his skull, which is causing pressure and brain damage. But he did have a lisp. He still sort of has a lisp. He has nearsight in one eye, farsight in the other, and that's all true. Like, most of this is true. He did leave the reservation at 14. I should probably tell you what the story's about. So, this follows Arnold Spirit, aka Sherman Alexie, and his life as a reservation Indian in Spokane. So he has grown up on the reservation, and in the reservation, Indians sort of deal with a lot of alcoholism, and they have just sort of lost a lot of their like Indian spirit, because Indians used to be nomads, and they would travel, you know, go where the food was, go where the water was, but now they've sort of been confined into these reservations, which are sort of basically Indian prisons. And so they go through a lot of poverty, and they're all alcoholics. They just go with they're trying, you know, to just stay around. And Arnold, because he was so different from everyone, he had a big head, kept having seizures, wonky glasses, and just, he was very different from everyone else on the res, so that really kept him from making a lot of friends. He had one friend. So Arnold loved to read, he loved comics, and that's what he would do because he didn't really have that many friends. He loved school, he loved reading, so everything like that is considered white. And, you know, being white when you're not white is a bad thing, usually. So he decided that he was going to leave the reservation to get a better life for himself. So he ends up going to a white school, not that far, and he gets a better education for himself. He finally is like off the res, you know, making a life for himself. Like, he has a will to live. His story is just so empowering, and like, if you need to change something in your life to make a better life for yourself, do it. Like, don't let anyone else tear you down and tell you that you can't do it or you shouldn't do it. If you think it's right for you, do it. If you need to get out of your situation, get out. Like, do your best to get out of the situation. Like, do what you need to do to build yourself up and get where you want to be and where you need to be. And I just think it's a beautiful story. So I don't know where I said this. I said it in one of my videos when I was talking about this book, but the quote in here was a contender for my senior quote of high school, but it ended up being from Ready Player One. But the quote that I really love from this book is from one of his white friends, who said, I'm not gonna find it in here. I did find it, guys. I'm impressed with myself. So it says, the world, even the smallest parts of it, is filled with things that you don't know. And I just think that is beautiful. Let's have it the cover. I just think it's so beautiful because it's true. The last book I read this month, which I'm not 100% finished with, but I am filming this on the last day of the month, so I'm gonna finish it today, is Essentialism by Greg McKeown. I don't know. This, I don't know that I'm going to give it a rating on Goodreads, just because it's not a story. Like, you know, like all these other books I read, they were like stories. This is sort of like a textbook. Not exactly, but this is about this thing called essentialism. You can't read that. Essentialism. And essentialism is basically making your life the easiest way it can possibly be by taking out everything that is non-essential to you and working towards everything that is essential to you, and to get you where you want in the easiest fashion possible, and not going through all this stupid stuff that you don't even care about. And I feel really horrible about this, but this is the first book that I have like highlighted in, and I've just like highlighted certain passages and like bracketed certain paragraphs and stuff that I think is really powerful, like something I would look back on to learn from it again. So I am only doing it in this book because it's a book to teach me about how to be a better me and how to cut out everything that I don't find necessary in my life, and how I can do that, and how I can find what is necessary in my life, and how to make that what I do all the time. I think it's really good, especially for people who find life itself very stressful, and they're like, you know, if you find school very stressful, maybe this could help. I don't know how much it would help. Maybe a little. If you find work very stressful, this would help a lot. If you find just everyday life very stressful and you get a lot of anxiety because you're like, I have so many things to do, gotta do all the things, but where do I start? What do I do? I don't know, I can't function, shuts down, you know? This book helps you to discover in yourself what you deem essential and like where you want to go in life, what you want to be doing, what are your life goals, and then how to get there. And it's like, it's not saying do everything at once. Like, essentialism is taking the small steps to make habits. Like, there's a lot to go down in this book, and it's just really interesting. And I think that a lot of people could benefit from this. I don't know that necessarily everyone would benefit from it. I think a lot of people could benefit from this, and I'm very glad I read it because I feel like this is a time in my life when I needed this. I do think this is a book that you should be highlighting and, like, you know, taking notes down, and because I don't think you should. I'm not gonna tell you what to do with your books. If you want to highlight your books, you do you. If you don't like highlighting your books, same, you do you. And I like my books to look perfect and look like they've never been touched. And I don't know why. I just think they look prettier that way. But that's me. That's my opinion. But I do think that this is a book that I really did need to highlight and jot things down, just because it's to teach you. It's like taking notes in a class, you know? Like, this is a subject to learn, but it's, you know, for your own benefit, not for anyone else's, you know? So that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe down below, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!